The Book of Enoch by Rabbi Ishmael, the High Priest, also known as Third Enoch. Please note, Enoch here is noted as the angel Metatron. When I ascended to the height to behold the vision of the chariot, I entered 6 palaces, one inside the other. And when I reached the door of the 7th palace, I paused in prayer before the Holy One, blessed be He. I looked up and said, Lord of the universe, grant, I beseech you, the merit of Aaron, son of Amram, lover of peace and pursuer of peace, who received on Mount Sinai the crown of priesthood in the presence of your glory, may avail for me now, so that Prince Caspiel and the angels with him may not prevail over me and cast me from heaven. At once the Holy One, blessed be He, summoned to my aid His servant, the angel Metatron, Prince of the divine presence. He flew out to meet me with great alacrity to save me from their power. He grasped me with his hand before their eyes and said to me, Come in peace into the presence of the high and exalted King, to behold the likeness of the chariot. Then I entered the 7th palace, and he led me to the camp of the Shekinah, and presented me before the throne of glory, so that I might behold the chariot. But as soon as the princes of the chariot looked at me, and the fiery seraphim fixed their gaze on me, I shrank back, trembling, and fell down, stunned by the radiant appearance of their eyes and the bright vision of their faces, until the Holy One, blessed be He, rebuked them and said, My servants, my seraphim, my cherubim, and my Ophanim, hide your eyes from Ishmael, my beloved son and honored friend, so that he does not shrink and tremble so. At once Metatron, Prince of the divine presence, came and revived me and raised me to my feet. But still I had not enough strength to sing a hymn before the glorious throne of the glorious King, the mightiest of kings, the most splendid of potentates, up till the hour had passed. But after an hour the Holy One, blessed be He, opened to me the gates of Shekinah, gates of peace, gates of wisdom, gates of strength, gates of might, gates of speech, gates of song, gates of sanctifying praise, gates of chant. He enlightened my eyes and my heart to utter song, praise, jubilation, thanksgiving, song, glory, majesty, loud, and strength. And when I opened my mouth and sang praises before the throne of glory, the holy creatures below the throne of glory and above the throne responded after me, saying, Holy, 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 and blessed be the glory of the Lord in His dwelling place. Then the eagles of the chariot, the flaming Ophanim, and the cherubim of the devouring fire asked Metatron, Youth, why have you allowed one born of woman to come in and behold the chariot? From what nation is he? From what tribe? What is his character? Metatron replied, He is of the nation of Israel, whom the Holy One, blessed be He, chose from the 70 nations to be His people. He is of the tribe of Levi, which presents the offering to His name. He is of the family of Aaron, whom the Holy One, blessed be He, chose to minister in His presence, and on whose head He Himself placed the priestly crown on Sinai. At once they began to say, This one is certainly worthy to behold the chariot, as it is written, Happy is the nation of whom this is true. Happy is the nation whose God is the Lord. Then I questioned the angel Metatron, Prince of the divine presence. I said to him, What is your name? He answered, I have 70 names, corresponding to the 70 nations of the world, and all of them are based on the name of the King of the kings of kings. And however my king calls me Youth. I said to Metatron, Why are you called by the name of your Creator with 70 names? You are greater than all the princes, more exalted than all the angels, more beloved than all the ministers, more honored than all the hosts, and elevated over all the potentates in sovereignty, greatness, and glory. Why then do they call you Youth in the heavenly heights? He answered, Because I am Enoch, the son of Jared. When the generation of the flood sinned and turned to evil deeds, and said to God, Go away, we do not choose to learn your ways. The Holy One, blessed be He, took me from their midst to be a witness against them in the heavenly height to all who should come into the world, so that they should not say, The merciful one is cruel. Did all those multitudes of people sin? And even if they sinned, what sin did their wives, their sons, and their daughters commit? And what of their horses, their mules, their beasts, their cattle, and all the birds of the world which the Holy One destroyed with him in the waters of the flood? What sin did they commit that they should have perished as well? Therefore the Holy One, blessed be He, brought me up in their lifetime before their very eyes to the heavenly height, to be a witness against them to future generations. And the Holy One, blessed be he, appointed me in the height as a prince and a ruler among the ministering angels. Then 3 of the ministering angels, Uzzah, Azza, and Azael, came and laid charges against me in the heavenly height. They said before the Holy One, blessed be he, Lord of the universe, did not the primeval ones give you good advice when they said, do not create man? The Holy One, blessed be he, replied, I have made and will sustain him. I will carry and deliver him. When they saw me, they said before him, Lord of the universe, what right has this one to ascend to the height of heights? Is he not descended from those who perished in the waters of the flood? What right has he to be in heaven? Again the Holy One, blessed be he, replied, and said to them, what right have you to interrupt me? I have chosen this one in preference to all of you, to be a prince and a ruler over you in the heavenly heights. At once they all arose and went to meet me and prostrated themselves before me, saying, happy are you and happy your parents, because your Creator has favored you, because I am young in their company and a mere youth among them in days and months and years. Therefore they call me youth. From that day the Holy One, blessed be he, banished the first man from the garden of Eden. The Shekinah resided on a cherub beneath the tree of life. The ministering angels used to muster and come down from heaven in companies and in bands and cohorts from heaven to execute his will in all the earth. The first man and his generation dwelt at the gate of the Garden of Eden so that they might gaze at the bright image of the Shekinah, or the brilliance of the Shekinah radiated from one end of the world to the other, 365,000 times more brightly than the sun. Anyone who gazed at the brightness of the Shekinah was not troubled by flies or gnats, by sickness or pain. Malicious demons were not able to harm him, and even the angels had no power over him. When the Holy One, blessed be he, went out and in from the garden to Eden, and from Eden to the garden, from the garden to heaven, and from heaven to the Garden of Eden, all gazed at the bright image of his Shekinah, and were unharmed, until the coming of the generation of Enoch, who was the chief of all the idolaters in the world. What did the men of Enoch's generation do? They roamed the world from end to end, and each of them amassed silver, gold, precious stones, and pearls, in mountainous heaps and piles. In the 4 quarters of the world they fashioned them into idols, and in each quarter they set up idols about 1,000 parasangs in height. They brought down the sun, the moon, the stars, and the constellations, and stationed them before the idols, to their right and to their left, to serve them in the way they served the Holy One. Blessed is he, as it is written, all the array of heaven stood in his presence, to his right and to his left. How is it that they had the strength to bring them down? It was only because Uzzah, Azza, and Azael taught them sorceries that they brought them down and employed them, for otherwise they would not have been able to bring them down. Thereupon the ministering angels conspired to bring a complaint before the Holy One, blessed be he. They said in his presence, Lord of the universe, what business have you with men, as it is written, what is man, Enoch, that you should spare the thought for him? It does not say here, what is Adam, but what is Enoch, because Enoch is the chief of the idolaters. Why did you leave the heaven of heavens above, the abode of your glory, the high and exalted throne which is in the height of Arabat, and come and lodge with men who worship idols? Now you are on the earth, and the idols are on the earth. What is your business among the idolatrous inhabitants of the earth? Immediately the Holy One, blessed be he, took up his Shekinah from the earth, from their midst. Then the ministering angels came, and the cohorts of the hosts, and the armies of Arabat, 1,000 companies strong, and myriads of hosts. They took trumpets and seized horns, and surrounded the Shekinah with psalms and songs, and it ascended to the heavenly heights, as it is written, God went up to the sound of horns, the Lord went up with a fanfare of trumpets. When the Holy One, blessed be he, desired to bring me up to the height, he sent me Prince Anapiel, Yahweh, and he took me from their midst before their very eyes, and he conveyed me in great glory on a fiery chariot, with fiery horses and glorious attendants, and he brought me up with the Shekinah to the heavenly heights. As soon as I reached the heavenly heights, the holy creatures, the Ophanim, the Seraphim, the Cherubim, the wheels of the chariot, and the ministers of consuming fire smelled my odor 365 myriads of parasangs off. They said, What is this smell of one born of woman? Why does a white drop ascend on high and serve among those who cleave the flames? The Holy One, blessed be he, replied and said to them, My ministers, my hosts, my cherubim, my Ophanim, and my seraphim, do not be displeased at this. For all mankind has rejected me and my great kingdom, and has gone off and worshipped idols. So I have taken up my Shekinah from their midst, and brought it up to the height. And this one whom I have removed from them is the choicest of them all, and worth them all in faith, righteousness, and fitting conduct. This one whom I have taken is my sole reward from my whole world under heaven.